articulated by economists and business leaders. Yet I think many people recognizing that there is such a fundamental flaw there that we still are not actually moving towards sustainability. We're just, I think that we recognize that that's not the case. Certainly in climate change, the complexity of that issue reveals itself in new depth almost every day. I had the pleasure of being part of some discussions that happened in the lead up to Copenhagen that were held here in Barcelona. And what I was tremendously impressed by was the depth of thinking that is starting to occur about the level of change that will have to occur within the way that businesses operate. Optimization problem that must look mathematical. There must be a way in which I can solve this. There must be a way in which I can find unanswered.
I have a question about, so if I think it's a very interesting story, and I would be interested to include it in the MBA curriculum, but I'm now wondering where. So is it, so we have the Amsterdam Leadership Program, but that's for us also outside, so not we are located in Amsterdam, then we go more to the rural part of the Netherlands. But that's really about leadership and what are your own values and competencies, etc. It's not necessarily about the environment, but we go more to a nature environment to get the rest to think about it for a couple of days. Or should it be more positioned in the corporate social responsibility track, for instance? So I'm not entirely clear on how to see what you are doing.
It's really, I mean, we're happy to do it anyway. My preference, personally, is for it to be done within a core class like strategy. I don't want to see it, the whole purpose is to not marginalize it as something that you do and then you go back to what you were learning before. So within, say, we have a module that's called the Ecology of Value. And so this is really, it's a course on strategies for value creation. We bring in corporate faculty, let's call them, so people who have an interest in working with MBA students. And what we'd really be talking about is how does a firm create value? How does anything create value? How do firms grow? And what we're looking for there is signs in nature of biological limits. So we start to explore from that, but we come from a real, let's say, first year type topic. And we're really trying to drive it towards what do you observe in nature, in biological systems that would give you some key as to what it means to be sustainable, right? So that's my preference. We've done it in other ways, which has been, because of course the interest tends to come from professors or students who are in that area. But over time, I think we'll have the greatest success in working it into core curriculum, finance, strategy, and really making the biological observations the key to something that's a potent insight for students.
I agree.
I've seen a survey done by Ashridge and ARBIS for a meeting of the UN Prime Initiative back at the end of 2008. At the height of the financial crisis, they surveyed business leaders, chief executives, senior managers around the world. A publication called Developing Tomorrow's Global Leader. 76% of those CEOs and business leaders said we need to understand much more about the implications of climate change, how we manage resource depletion, how we cope with internationalizing into markets where we're faced with the challenges of bribery and corruption and human rights and poverty issues affecting our business model.
But in terms of the things you've done already, anything that's been particularly successful in engaging staff and moving some of the ODers and the disbelievers, is there any, for those who still struggling with that, any?
Well, I think as we were talking in the breakout session, we have a green team which is dealing specifically with the environmental parts of sustainability. And that's very much staff from across the organisation, so people in IT, some of the personal assistants, some of the people that are concerned with property and so on, who are very active in really pushing that. And they are, in fact, I think, kicking a little bit some of the faculty to get into this. But I think one of the things that, and this is very simple and straightforward, is helping colleagues in different disciplines to explore what these questions mean specifically for their discipline. So our Sustainable Business Elective, as I said earlier, is taught by faculty from different parts of the school to do precisely that, to try and find where there are opportunities to write common cases, joint cases. certainly one of the concrete things I'm taking away from today is that we could do more to produce some kind of core case on those companies, for example, where we've got a lot of good access, which could then be used by different faculties, so it becomes a running theme, not where, in fact, we haven't talked to each other, so the students get very rightly critical because don't you realise that case is already being taught somewhere else, but very deliberately and consciously having some running themes running through. So you explore the finance aspects, or you explore the strategy aspects, or you explore the HR potential of that particular case. We're doing something called Cranfield on Corporate Sustainability, which is involving about 30 of our faculty colleagues, where we're getting them all to write about their particular discipline and what sustainability means for them. You'll notice throughout I've talked about sustainability and the responsible business, not about CSR, because I think that's one of those terrible TLAs, three-letter abbreviations, which is really now so widely misunderstood and used in such different means. But I'm very much with Charles saying we need to find some different, better language for this.
And then to add insult to injury, a major river in the heartland of the United States became so polluted it actually caught on fire. And finally, when all these things came together, Congress decided to act. Primarily because the people who pick up the bill for this are taxpayers. Almost always when something big happens on an environmental scale, it's the local, national, or state governments that have to pick up the tab. So they passed the Clean Air and Water Acts in the 1970s, which basically said that any company that polluted the environment was now responsible for cleaning it up. And you can imagine what the reaction was from businesses. The reaction is always the same when they're told they have to be responsible. Well, this is going to cost us a lot of money, and therefore, if it costs us money, it's going to cut into our profits, and the way we're going to deal with that is first, you're going to feel sorry about this because we're going to have to fire people.